All right, g'day, hi, and welcome. Okay, so I'm on my way back. Getting kind of warm. The goal this time of year is not to sweat if you can help it. I eat lots of onions and garlic. Right now, nobody's going near me. That's why I don't get sick. You know, it's like all the onions and garlic. But in the next couple of weeks, it's going to start to get, you know, the snow is going to start to go away a bit. I'm going to start collecting my traps, all that stuff. And I'm going to start to plan for season 8. It doesn't mean season 8 is going to happen. I mean, if I get stable work through the winter, well, I got to do that instead, right? But by the end of this month, I think around the 18th to the 25th, somewhere around that, is the fur auction over there in Helsinki, Finland. I will not be going to Finland. I've never been to Finland. I'd like to go to Finland. Finland and Norway and Sweden are countries that, like, most people want to go like to the Bahamas and stuff like that. Like, I've been to Florida, I've been to California, whatever. But I'm more of a Nordic type of guy than a palm tree type of guy. So not that I don't like those places or whatever, but I can't take the heat anyway. You know what I mean? Like, I can never go to a place like Australia in the summertime. I'd die. Like, as a Canadian, I'd just keel over. I wouldn't be able to manage it at all. Like, I mean, right now it's like plus 10, whatever it is, and that's typical in March where you get nice days. It's not global warming or anything like that. It's just is what it is. That's ever since I was a kid. Yes, you'd get warm days in March and it's cold at night and it's warm. Then you get a week or 2 weeks of really crappy weather, just to make, you know, just to kind of stick it to you that for that last bit of the season. And then it starts to warm up, right? Then it's damp and rainy throughout April, typically. And then May and June, yeah, April showers, May flowers, right? So we're a long way from there. That said, I saw an article last night. Polar bears eating their cubs because of global warming. Oh my God. I'm like, really? I mean, there's just no place they won't go with that issue, right? And it's like, no. Predatorial animals eat the young of the offspring of their competitors for centuries, and don't worry about the polar bears. The polar bears are fine. Arctic is fine. All that stuff. It's all normal. There's volcanoes that they're not talking about, under ocean volcanoes that are heating everything up. That's why you get the melt off early. But and like you have melt off here, but not over there. That's why. I mean, I'm not saying, you know, the planet hasn't warmed up a bit, but don't worry about the polar bears is what I'm telling you. It's all global alarmism. And the way to offset global warming is by taxing us more. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see, getting back to the, it's just, I saw that last night. It made me laugh because there's so many people that believe it. I'm like, no, like, say, lions do the same thing. Tigers do the same thing. You know, cats do the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, bears do the same thing. Yeah, they eat the young of their, you know, they'll eat the young, not just, they're predators. They're super apex predators. They can kill anything they want. Sometimes they just do it for fun. Wolves do the same thing. I think it was last year. Yeah, someone found a dead wolf. You know, it was a territorial dispute. One wolf nipped the other wolf in the top of the head and killed him. And you don't see it too often, but you do see it from time to time. You know, so that's just the nature, the way predators work in nature. But they'll definitely kill the small young and whatever. But anyway, I don't want this video all about that. But yeah, so for season 8, what I got coming up, I don't know if I think I'll trail it as season 8, not trail it as the end of season 7. And that'll be basically searching out like all the beaver houses that I'm going to trap next year. If I trap, we'll see. Fur prices will be the kind of arbiter of that. So whenever they have the auction, what I'm going to do is base my price on, right now, on the average of what I'm going to get. But right now, I base all my prices on the worst possible fur prices that they're giving. Because there's a lot of things to factor in. For example, my American cousins, brothers and sisters down there in the States, their beaver pelts are like crap. You know, maybe the northern states are not too bad, because they actually get a winter. But the southern states, yeah, it's all, you know, the beavers are a northern animal. They're meant to be in the real cold, so they don't get the cold like we get, so their furs never get thick, right? So those beavers are virtually worthless, and they drive the prices down. But if you look at the average North American Canadian beaver, prices are always higher than that of typically the Americans. But it doesn't even always work like that. I mean, for example, there's areas in the States where it's really warm, but yet the coyotes and the bobcats are worth way more than what they are worth up here in Canada. And like eastern lynx versus northern lynx versus the lynx out in the west, they're all different prices too. Wolves, the same thing. So I go by the lowest price, and you have to factor in that they do break it down on the fur harvester auctions, you know, like the type of animal. Like, so let's say we got an Arctic wolf. Well, an Arctic wolf usually fetches the biggest money because it's usually they're usually really big, and not only are they big, they usually have incredible pelts, right? And then you got eastern wolves and stuff like that. They do better than, say, the southern wolves and stuff like that. Again, and then some of it is like, for example, the wolves up here tend to be a lot more coarse in their fur. Like, their fur tends to be a lot more, you know, more wiry, as we'll say. Where, same with our coyotes. Our coyotes they got pretty thick hair, and it's very wiry. So even though it's a nice pelt, some of the coyotes down in the States, the fur is really, really soft, and that fetches more, even though it's not as thick of a pelt. It's because they're not as cold, but the fur's softer. So there's stuff like that. So we'll see what the prices get, and that'll tell me whether I'm going to trap next year or not. I mean, this year I had to kind of do it no matter what. So I'm anticipating the worst fur prices, because I'm going to be disappointed with the fur prices anyway. I mean, especially the fact that I only sent up 15 animals, but 15 animals is about 1/10 of what I wanted to catch. So I want to catch 150, right? Well, at least 150 beavers anyway, and then everything else, whatever it's going to be. But, you know, let's say the average beaver, okay, is 20 bucks. Okay, 150 beavers won't do it. Can I manage more than 150 beavers in a season? Current setup, absolutely not. But when I get the auction money, by that time, if let's say my average beaver was like 40 bucks, which is usually what I was getting on average, was like 28 bucks. I had some beavers over 100. When I tell people that, they don't believe me though. I'm like, a lot of the guys around here, like I've talked about in the preseason, they'll trap when it's easy. You know, they're like, catch your beavers early, that's when it's easy. So yeah, but they're not worth anything. You know what I mean? Like, you got to catch them when it's hard. That's when it's worth it to put in the work, because they could be worth up to 3 times the price of the lowest beaver, right? Especially if they're really, really big in their prime. I still have that one beaver, that 62-pound beaver, because he didn't dry properly. The method I got now, by the time the season was over, like next year's animals will be perfect. You know, every one of them will be perfect. I'll be interested to see what I get for my otters. So if the prices are good, if I can make my entire year's income out of, say, 3 months, so we'll say 150 to 200 beavers for the season. That's a lot of work, guys. And maybe 30 to 50 otters or 60 otters. If the average otter is going to be like, say, 25 bucks or whatever, that's a lot of work, right? But if they're averaging, say, 60 bucks, what I normally get, you know, then, you know, like 60 otters is like $6 grand, right? So that $6 grand, $7,200 is my basic living expenses for the year, right? So if I can make all that in one season, I could take the whole summer to do whatever I want, prepare for the following season. And again, I won't be just completely cash strapped all the time. You know what I mean? Like that really sucks when you just can't maneuver, you can't do nothing. Now there's another thing that I'm going to do, and I'll make that in the next video. It was something I was going to do with the YouTube thing, but because the YouTube thing kind of has gone a bust on me financially, is the SCDC grant. And if I can get that, I'll tell you that in the next video. But basically, yeah, that's how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to plan out for season 8. I'm going to early spring, well, maybe more like late spring when the water goes down, find all my beaver houses. I've got about 4 properties that I can trap. This one, obviously, because it's family land. And then if I'm going to put in for the problem without a reliable vehicle, okay, I could put in for a professional trap line. It's not that it's expensive, it's just that there's quotas and stuff. And I'll explain that in the next video, actually. Yeah, that's what I'll do.